Hello and welcome to Defense India podcast. And before we start this video, please do like, share and subscribe to the channel. Hello and welcome to another episode of Defense India podcast where we discuss matters pertaining to India's internal security. And joining me on the podcast is always, Vicky Nanajappa. Vicky, welcome to the podcast once again.
Thanks, Akash. Thank you.
So, Vicky, today the discussion is not in India but very close to India. What is happening in Bangladesh? So, most of the people might be aware of it. कुछ लोगों को नहीं भी पता होगा कि there is a huge protest that is going on across Bangladesh. और the main reason is the reservation in government jobs. So वहाँ की जो Sheikh Hassena सरकार है, they have said that they want to give 30% reservation to the kin of freedom fighters and veterans of the 1971 Bangladesh Independence War. और हालांकि पहले बीच में जो है this was scrapped, but now a court ruling has said that the government has to give it, and the government said that okay, we will take this and we'll see how we will approach. अभी तक हालांकि the government has not said that we will implement this, but still there is a huge uproar in Bangladesh. Around more than 100 people have lost their lives, and around 3,000 people have been injured in these violent protests. Or the situation is not looking good for Bangladesh. There is internet ban in Bangladesh and telephone ban in Bangladesh. So a lot of things are going haywire for Bangladesh right now. And India being the next door neighbor to Bangladesh, Vicky, how do you feel that India will feel the heat? Because we have seen that your Indian students, they have now come back to India. India is also trying to get some of the civilians who feel they are not safe back to India. But how does this whole protest in Bangladesh going to impact India?
See, I wouldn't say it will be a direct impact because, again, I'll go back, it's an internal matter of theirs, where it comes to reservation of up to 30% of government jobs, which, these people who are protesting say that, it is going to benefit the Prime Minister Sheikh Hassena's party, and hence the protest. Now, the problem is, the thing is, the protest must have started, for the reason that, the protesters are citing. But what happens is, every time there is, violent protests in a neighboring country, the thing is, internal security tends to, get threatened. Like,
Right.
If there is unrest in Sri Lanka, or, say unrest in Pakistan and now Bangladesh, and coming specifically to the point of Bangladesh is that we've forever had this problem of illegal infiltration that has been happening, and this was something which was planned post this one. What is that? The liberation of Bangladesh, which was done by India ultimately, and that is the time that they realized that the only way to create panic is through illegal infiltrations,
Right.
Into Assam and into Bengal and all these into all these states. So to keep India on the boil. So sometimes when you tend to look away and things like that, a lot of radical elements can come out of protests like this, and in that way, I would find it to be a little problematic for India, and our borders need to be more secure because people will be trying to get out of the situation.
That's true, Vicky. So, cross-border, infiltration as far as illegal immigration. Let's put it that way. Illegal immigration of Bangladeshis into India has been one of the biggest, security issue and a political issue also in India. We have seen time and again, the problems with Rohingyas. We have seen this thing, the problems with Bangladeshis settling in West Bengal, and especially on the border areas in changing demography. And a lot of security experts have raised alarm about this thing, that this rapid change of demography, especially on the border areas, is very dangerous to the internal security of India. So how do you feel that India's security agencies are watching this whole incident, first of all, and secondly, how are they going to tackle this issue? Because let's be very honest, no matter how hard you try, there is going to be some kind of a cross-border infiltration into India. There's going to be a lot of illegal immigration into India, because the situation over in Bangladesh is not dying down very in the near future. We can say that.
Yeah, see, the thing is, it comes at such a difficult time for us. If you notice one thing, that close to 5,000 additional troops have been sent into Jammu Kashmir just recently, because, in the last podcast we were discussing about the rise in terrorism in Jammu Kashmir. So
Right.
we have a problem there. We have a problem on the Chinese border. Okay, the BSF is guarding the Bangladesh border. That is fine. One part of it, but then how do we react to it? Is a sense is that security has to be upped along the border. You should make sure these touts don't come into the picture and then start utilizing this, because if people tend to flee in large numbers, over 1,000, 1,500 and things like that, so it becomes automatically it becomes a security menace,
Right.
basically. So I think all focus on the border, and of course, there are going to be, our first this one. What is that? Priority is to get our citizens out of Bangladesh. That is going to be priority number one, actually, because Indians can come under attack out there, because we've heard of so many incidents that have happened in the past where Hindus in particular have been targeted out there.
Right.
So the first priority would be to get all our nationals out. We had a certain amount of nationals who got out, and now MEA is in touch again. With the respective mission out there. To ensure that 4,000 more Indians are evacuated or taken out of Bangladesh. So that will be priority number one, and an equal this one or that focus will be given to what is going to happen along the border, and to ensure that there is no infiltration happening, because I mean it's going beyond beyond limits, and we have certain governments along the border who may even try and promote it, because
Correct.
we've seen this over the years, because they have ultimately turned into big time vote banks at the end of it. So a lot to be done to make sure that they are stopped at the border itself.
Yes, Vicky, very true. And I also said this, that there will be political, and this Bangladesh illegal immigration has been a political issue also in India. We have seen this over and over time and again. Politicians, be it on the right or on the left, they have always used this issue for their own political gains. And of course, very true. कि आने वाले टाइम में भी हो सकता है कि the kind of situation Bangladesh is facing right now, we might face some kind of a similar situation. But talking about Bangladesh, we cannot to be very honest, my focus always again shifts to Pakistan also, because we have seen that in Kashmir, which was one of the hotbeds of terrorism. And to be very honest, one of the biggest, if I say, cash cow for ISI in terms of gaining a lot of funds for its working in Kashmir. So it has basically died down because of the strict action of the army over there. Now they have shifted their focus to Kashmir. to my mistake, to Jammu. But now this situation in Bangladesh also. Do you think that ISI will try to do something over there? Get something in that area so that they can start a two-prong attack towards India, maybe from Jammu and from that border which is with the West Bengal?
See, two things, Akash. The thing is, ISI in particular is not, in favor of the existing regime which is there in Bangladesh, because, Sheikh Hassena has, I wouldn't say, got a 100% strike rate, but she is very well aware of the fact that if the country has to progress and, go forward, and, the kind of, the trade relationship she has with the Bangladesh has with the rest of the country, it is very, very important that, you tame and, curb these, radical mullahs who, operate out of there. That is number one point. Following the liberation, what had happened is there was a specific team of our intel which was sent to Bangladesh to understand what is happening. And at that time, there was a kind of an agreement because between certain elements in Bangladesh and the ISI, or the Pakistan army and the establishment in Pakistan, to create a kind of a system, a pattern where there is widespread infiltration that happens into India.
Right.
And what happens is, when there is widespread infiltration, it does lead to a lot of unrest. That is one part. And secondly, they come. I mean, there've been complaints of them taking away local jobs, taking away land of Hindus, by force, or by paying a lot of money. And if you go to Bengal, you can see cattle smuggling, and then what do you call it, fake currency racket, and bomb making industries in Burdwan, which were very, which we saw back in 2014. So and those are the kind of things, and this is what a protest which has got so violent and has been for so long. It cannot go on and on unless there is a foreign hand behind it.
Right.
And in this case, I would clearly say that it is the doing of the ISI which is not letting the protest die down.
Right.
So because you keep they have a two-edged sword. One is to trouble India, which is a bordering state, and you are making sure that people just move across the border and add to the already existing problem. And of course, the other one is is to try to take a regime down, because the certain set of these radical Islamists who the ISI would want them to thrive, and hence without that foreign hand there, I don't think these protesters would have been able to sustain for this long.
Exactly. So, of course, we cannot always rule out the Pakistan angle when it comes to these kind of notorious things. But moving away from Pakistan, also, as we discussed before the podcast, we started recording this, that one another very interesting aspect that has come out is that first Sheikh Hassena touching upon the Razakar issue, and then now it has become more of a battle cry for these protesters, invoking the Razakar. So Razakar issue once again, popping up. What does it mean for Bangladesh, Vicky? Because those were the dark periods for Bangladesh, and people who were during those time remember it very, and even Sheikh Hassena to an extent pointed this out, that people are very easily nowadays talking about Razakar, but they don't know the horrors of those days. So what does this imply, the revocation of Razakar sentiment in Bangladesh?
See, first and foremost, Razakars, they were a paramilitary force that was created by the Pakistan army during the 71 Bangladesh Liberation War. Okay, so that is one thing. Now, while that that paramilitary force may not remain as it was in the 70s, or earlier than that, there are elements who still believe that the process of liberation was, actually wrong. That is one, and it should have never happened. They want to, recapture. I mean, or rather, Akash, what I would say is that, topple a democratically elected setup and try to put an Islamic State kind of rule out there.
Right.
So and that is the thing. See, it is not a force that exists, but then it has become multiple things today in Bangladesh. Like you say, Jamaat-e-Islami, then Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh. These kind of things. The presence of the Al-Qaeda, the presence of the Islamic State, all these elements, it is basically the same thought process. So if I would, give a broader connotation to what the Prime Minister of Bangladesh is saying is that it is a mindset that is, which still exists, that, there is a considerable amount of number of people within Bangladesh who still, would like it to, go back to the earlier ways where it was not liberated and, have a complete kind of Islamic State, like what we see in many countries. And I mean, a lot of elements within Pakistan also trying to do the same thing. But so I think she was more or less referring to the mindset, and that particular mindset has kind of broken down into many different organizations, a political arm, a violent arm, and things like that. So I think that is what I would make out of her statement.
Correct, true, very. So, Vicky, I do understand that the sentiment over there is very volatile. But do you feel that there might be a resurgence of anti Bangladesh or anti democracy in Bangladesh after these protests, and more of a pro Pakistan sentiment prevailing?
See, there is a considerable number of people, who had who still continue to have a very pro-Pakistan sentiment, like, these, as I said, groups like Jamaat-e-Islami and, these, who've been working very, very closely with the ISI, that is one. So, the whole thing is basically, when Pakistan says, bleed India by 1,000 cuts,
Right.
I mean, they would definitely, they tried it in Sri Lanka also. If you notice, they had a terror module which was running out of an embassy out there, one.
Okay.
And then, of course, China is a problem. China is a different issue altogether.
Correct.
But definitely a bordering state, which we have a problem. Bangladesh, yes, over the years, the infiltration process that has happened has, kind of threatened this. So, like in Pakistan, where a lot of people believe that, India should not thrive, should not prosper, and, should be marred by violence and things like that. That is a mindset that does exist a lot. If you look at, the reports of, the Hindu girls being, raped, forcibly converted, then married off, the thing is, cattle smuggling across the border, the number of temples that have been demolished and things like that. So, how this whole system out there is working. And all these require funds, all these require planning, and all this require backing. And who better than Pakistan? Because, they were the biggest losers, when Bangladesh was liberated.
Absolutely, Vicky. And of course, this situation is far from dying away. So we will be keeping an eye on this and discussing it further, in our coming episodes. But for now, that's all we have on Defense India podcast. Thank you very much, Vicky, for joining me once again and discussing these issues. And thank you to all our viewers who watch our videos, and will love to have your comments in the comment section below, and also do like, share, and subscribe to Defense India podcast so that our reach increases and more people listen to our podcast and gain insight. And of course, if they have any questions, we are always welcome to answer them. And once again, thank you very much, Vicky, for joining me.
Thank you, Akash. Thank you so much.